name's Robin Grain. I own a divorce mediation firm in Virginia called Grain Mediation. I am also a certified divorce financial analyst and a former divorce attorney and a divorced person with 2 adult kids that I raised in 2 homes, and we did a pretty good job. And I try to help people on YouTube figure this thing out called divorce. This video is about what is child support intended to cover. I get a lot of questions about that. It's not really intended to cover much. Number 1, it's supposed to cover some of the roof over your child's head, okay? So the mortgage or the rent. Number 2, utilities. You know, part of the heat bill, part of the electric, all that kind of stuff. It's supposed to cover some of the food that your child eats. It's supposed to cover some of their school supplies. Maybe there's mandatory, electronics. That might get a little tricky with the child support because that's expensive. But your regular old school supplies. It also is intended to cover basic transportation. I mean really basic, like some gasoline for the car, maybe a little bit of a oil changey kind of a thing, but definitely not a new transmission and not an airline flight anywhere. The last thing that child support's supposed to cover, a little tricky, but usually in most states, certainly in Virginia, the health insurance premium cost, the child's portion of that goes into the calculation. It's a little variable that goes in a little field when you run the calculation. And so that is factored for in child support. The parent who's actually paying for the health insurance essentially gets a credit for paying that health insurance premium, the child's portion. Okay, now for the interesting part that most people don't get, and that is what is child support not intended to cover. First of all, work-related childcare. In other words, daycare, babysitters, au pairs, all that kind of substitute care that parents need so that they can go and make a living. Now, in Virginia and probably most other states, there is a variable, a little field in the child support calculation to put the cost of work-related child support, but not usually recommended that you do that. Why? Because it changes all the time. So your kid grows out of needing before care. You're no longer can afford a nanny and you go to daycare, whatever. It changes all the time. Every time that work-related child care changes, your child support calculation changes. And if you're divorced, that means you got to go to court and ask permission. So it's like a big thing. So at my firm, we never, one time in 17 years, have I included that. We always leave it out. And that gets factored for at a percentage basis. What percentage is each parent going to pay for that child's work-related child care, okay? Sometimes it's 50-50, even when the parents don't make the same amount of money just because they don't feel like fighting about it. I encourage them to have conversations, of course, but sometimes they just go with the 50-50. More typical is pro rata. Pro rata means we take the combined gross income of both parents. What percentage is the spouse number 1? What percentage is spouse number 2? That's what pro rata means. So that's real typical. The other expenses, child-related expenses that are not intended to be included in the child support is out-of-pocket medical, dental, vision, therapy expenses, okay? Your co-pays, some of your prescriptions, some types of medical equipment. I mean, there's lots of out-of-pocket medical expenses that the insurance is not going to pick up the tab for. And that is supposed to be paid for outside of the child support. Private school tuition, that's not a part of child support, ever. Extracurricular activities, no. That's, even though most families have their kid in at least one extracurricular activity, that gets paid for outside of the child support calculated amount. Tutoring, same kind of thing. Any kind of vacations, You can factor for that, but chances are you're not going to get anywhere on that. Oh, for the teenagers, automobile insurance, especially if you have a boy, your automobile insurance is going to go through the roof. Cell phones. The cell phone, having a kid on your account, lots of times the parent who already has the kid on their account will just pick up the tab for that. But the cell phones themselves, I mean, they're expensive, laptops and things like that. You might want to negotiate how you're going to pay for that. As your kids get older, you're going to find that the SAT, ACT preparation courses, your college applications are going to cost you a fortune. You might want to factor for that. Most of my clients don't. They kick the can down the road, but I at least get them to consider it. So I hope that's helpful to you. If you like this video, please hit the like, the subscribe, leave me a comment. A lot of people just call me and ask me a question. That's fine too. So I hope that you got something out of this, and see you later.